Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. I've been on the go today and it's chilly here. So I've got my North Face, which is hilarious. This has stuck with me. I'm originally from Ohio. So this has stuck with me for years. I mean, it's just one of those things that kind of like Ugg boots that you just hang on to. Wild. So if you take care of your things, they last. But I did want to make space for this word because I feel like it is timely. It's one that's been heavy on my heart recently. And it's also one that I know that I have really in the past gotten caught up in sort of ambiguities that are within a relationship context. And it's definitely not as complex as we make it. We just don't always have the tools or the wisdom or the context or somebody looking out for us and guiding us and giving us perspective. So that's what I hope to do or hope to offer you tonight. I know that I've had a lot of clients recently. It's interesting. They'll come wanting to work on one thing. Usually it's work related or purpose related, but it's tied into a raw, real, present relationship issue or something that is blocking them from actually being freed up to focus on purpose. So at any rate, here's what we're going to talk about. I made it pretty brief, but just kind of wanted to guide you through a couple of things. So there's a trending term. Everyone is probably familiar with it. If you're not, it is called situationship. So it's a spin on relationship. It's not exactly a relationship, but we still are fostering this connection, although it's not built on anything spirit-led, anything godly in a lot of ways. It's rooted and grounded in stuff that is sinking sand, right? It's a lot of the ambiguity, a lot of the generalizations or speaking around the issue. It's not direct, it's not clear, right? So examples could be maybe you're talking to, and this can be interchangeable, guy or girl, right? So maybe you're talking with somebody in the beginning, you're a woman and you're really attracted to the fact that this guy is really open and honest and it can express some relationship struggle, some hardship that he's walked through, learned so much from, has changed from, and is really on like the come up, right? And it was refreshing to you, that hooked you so much, and you rewarded this person somehow by giving them greater access to your life, by involving them in your life, by speeding up something that maybe wasn't even something. So that's an example. Another one could be when a guy or gal is telling you, I'm working through some grief or some unhealed trauma with a therapist right now, or I'm not ready for a relationship, or I just got out of one, so I just need some space right now. I'm not looking for anything serious. So they're sort of telling you something, but then their behavior is something different. And somehow through staying connected or maybe not fully listening and letting that land, feelings develop. And then if there's sex that happens as well, then the water is muddied and it's just confusing and chaotic, right? But these are situationships. There's many ways that these can start to form. And there are many people that are out there looking for just that. They don't want commitment. They don't want anything serious, but they know, right, that they can run game. They know that, and they will take advantage of that, unfortunately. So it's really important to be able to have your discernment fine-tuned, to use wisdom, and to really recognize what you are facing and to really hear what's not being said, just to be able to read between the lines, not to fill in the gaps. That's something different, but to be able to read between the lines. So, for example, what usually is being said in situationships is that they don't want it with you. They don't want to go into a covenant relationship with you. They don't want to commit to you. They don't want to marry you. They don't want to have kids with you. They don't want anything serious with you, but they will gladly take the the sexual, the financial, the emotional, the spiritual, the entertainment, all of the benefits that they can take from you, they will gladly take and receive those as added bonus to their life, right? But what can happen is if you don't recognize this, that's where the confusion can be. Well, they said this, but they also say that they love me. Well, people can say that they love you, but still not want a commitment with you, right? Or what can happen is you can get so invested in that you start to waste years of your life, and you go through these toxic cycles as this other person is using you for benefits, right? It's parasitic in a way. And it's compounded because it's also going against what intuitively or inherently you know. And when you stick around in denial of what you know, and when you talk yourself into something that you're not okay with, it starts to diminish your own self-concept and your own sense of worth and your own consciousness, where you're starting to question, where you're starting to almost idolize this person and idolize the relationship or idolize the vision for the relationship. You're not open and available and sensitive to Holy Spirit guidance or the voice of God in your life. And it can really, again, waste years of your life. And all that's doing is postponing true love, right? So if that is actually what you want, if you actually want a commitment, if you actually want a marriage, if you actually want to be connected to a partner in purpose, right? If you actually want God to be the center of your relationship and really honor and be able to respect a man and be able to submit to a man in the context of a relationship, you really can't afford to waste years of your life. You really can't afford to not fine tune your wisdom and your discernment and apply it, right? So also keep in mind that in situationships, guy or gal, they won't come out directly and clearly, because they know if they say something matter of fact and outright, that other person won't hang around, that person would leave, right? So if it's cloudy, if it's muddy, if it's casual, if it's played off in some kind of way, then often the other person is left to fill in the gaps. And we love using our imagination. We love coming up with the story we want. We love convincing ourselves that this is who this person is. There could be all these other signs, but we love telling ourselves that this is who this person is. This is what is possible here, right? If I just wait, if I just hang out, it'll turn into this. And then that's how that can accumulate, right? And it can get confusing because you're going against what you know. And then your mind is taking you one way, your emotions are taking you another way, your heart knows something different. So you are in a lot of warfare every day for what? And you absolutely cloud it further when you have a sexual relationship, because that can go into soul ties and a whole nother level of warfare, right? So another thing to keep in mind, because the way the world is set up right now, I don't even know what all the apps are, but all the dating apps, all the dating websites, a lot of folks know when somebody is vulnerable, particularly if they're not serious. They can smell somebody who is vulnerable and somebody that could be easily manipulated. That all you have to do is tell them the right things, have an emotional moment. They know how to run game, basically. They know how to manipulate, and who, right, is a victim, right? Like who's prey for their manipulation, essentially. It's almost like a shark in the water that can smell blood, okay? So again, it's one of those situations where you can't be out there. You can't afford to be naive and casual. No. Okay. So keep that in mind. They will say what you want to hear and never commit. And where that is an issue, particularly if you're vulnerable, is your defenses are already lower. But if you also don't have any knowledge or don't have any background in being able to vet and qualify somebody, then you are in a really dangerous position. Dangerous in the sense of your heart is probably not being guarded. Your mind could easily be manipulated when emotions are involved, right? And feelings are involved, that those are God in your life. then it can get messy and really, really quick. And a lot of times we're not ready to deal with the consequences of those choices. So that is something to really be aware of before you even expose that you're available or looking for a relationship. I would argue if you're in a vulnerable place, you're not ready for a relationship. Okay, so also a really huge reminder is that you will not be a priority to everybody. Not everybody's going to want you and jive with you in a relationship. And that is a good thing. But why that is important to highlight is that you will recognize when something is the real thing. There won't be question. There won't be confusion. God is not the author of confusion, right? So if you are not a priority, I think I can be so bold as to say, if you are not a priority, a lot of times you're a placeholder, and you're a placeholder for some void in this other person's life, right? And again, all you're doing is postponing what God has for you, or the true love that you really do desire, right? You're putting it off because of maybe lies, because of vulnerability, because of things that you've settled for, like, well, I'm this age, or I'm damaged goods, or it's so hard to find people these days, or I better just have some form of a man because I can never have the one that I want, right? Like, you get caught up in some of this crazy making, and unless you address it, unless you identify it, you're setting yourself up. Okay, so when a man/woman wants you, right? I'm really speaking as a woman, right? And what I know from experience, what I know from what I've seen, what I know from working with many folks and clients in the realm of relationships, he will show you from the jump, in word and deed. He cannot let you get away, because there will be something, it'll be beyond chemistry. There'll just be this knowing that, like, this is someone special. This is somebody that I have this connection with. This is a good one. Like, I can't let this one go. So there won't be broken communication. There won't be these mixed signals. There won't be red flags. You won't have to be pursuing them. There won't be all these excuses, right? This person does not want you questioning anything. They don't want you to have any reason to doubt at all. And when you're a priority in somebody's life, and when they really want you, it doesn't matter actually what they have going on in their life. They are going to find a way to shield you from that and make sure that you feel by experience that you are a priority, and that you are to be treasured and to be cherished, and you are what they want. You are what they're after, right? No matter what is going on in their life. They also won't let you walk away, right? Because they inherently recognize, they've probably prayed about God, they've gotten confirmation from God. They can't let you walk away because they know that you are crucial to their life. Like, they literally cannot. They will start to just be wrecked almost at the thought of that. So they can't let you get away. And most importantly, they see your value and they know your worth. Right? And that's not true of everybody. Like, if you even just scan your relationship past, maybe these people are probably great humans, but did they actually see your value and know your worth? Or did they just say, what is a good enticing words of man, right? Did they just charm you? Or did they actually see your value and know your worth? Okay. We like to tell ourselves that we're a great catch and that we're the best thing that could happen to everyone, but that's not true. But you will be the best thing to happen to someone, right? And that will be a mutual compatibility. That's what's rare, right? I don't know if you've experienced this, but you can be in relationships where it feels like one person is definitely more convinced or convicted or charged about the relationship, and that compatibility isn't there, right? It's not mutual. And you don't build with that just to make that other person feel okay. Like, that's not what you do, right? So the mutual compatibility, you don't find that often, and you'll be able to recognize it, right? Because of that, because of how rare it is, you'll be able to recognize it. And that is something that you can trust and have faith in, right? I don't need more of the same thing. I don't just need somebody to like go have fun with, spiritual support. Like I can get my needs met. What I want is, right, like have a clear vision for what you want. So this is what I would say. And then I will tell you the verse that really helps ground this in. So when you are in a state where there is cloudiness when it comes to relationship, maybe you've been in relationship for years, right? I don't recommend going beyond a year, particularly when you're, in your 30s or when you've done your healing work, right? It doesn't take someone a long time to know, right? So I recommend seeing somebody through every season, but if you are going through year after year after year with somebody and it's just more of the same and it's not getting anywhere and you're just kind of in a holding pattern, I don't recommend that, because all you're doing again is postponing what it is that you do want. You're tying God's hands up, right? You've got to be able to let go of the old thing, of a dead thing, so that God can give you the new thing and his blessed thing, right? So if you are in a confused place, if you are in a space where you don't know what to do, couple of things. One is sometimes we get so caught up in prioritizing the other person or chasing after them or pursuing them or trying to figure out, reading into it, we don't recognize what we actually feel and what we've been feeling a majority of the time, and we don't communicate about that, or our partner might not be communicating, or the person that we're in situationship with is not communicating. So something called the feeling wheel, I don't know if you can see it. I just want you to kind of be able to see it. Da-na-na. So you can just do a Google, okay? Do a Google search of the feeling wheel. And what this is really helpful in doing is it's helpful in exposing your emotional intelligence, your emotional literacy, because a lot of times, particularly if you're just like a strong woman or if you're a man that doesn't communicate his feelings, this helps you identify, what am I feeling in this relationship? Am I attached to this person? Because there's different attachment styles. It's kind of high level. There's different attachment styles to relationship, okay? And we can attach for healthy reasons, and we can attach for unhealthy ones. And if we attach for unhealthy, often our feelings, we are on the side of the feeling wheel because they're kind of split in half. One side is what it looks like when your feelings are met. And then the other side is what it looks like when your needs go unmet, because we have emotional needs, right? Just like we have physical, spiritual, emotional, financial, we have needs, right? And emotions aren't often talked about. And if you just look at this and you look at where you hang out emotionally, a majority of the time, that is quite revealing. So a lot of times this will tell you what you need to know. Is being attached to this person bringing life, bringing value, adding to my life, or is it literally destroying my soul? Literally, right? So a feeling wheel is something that I recommend taking a look at, because it demystifies the complexities or the layers, and it helps you tap into that resolve of knowing what it is that you need to do and maybe you've been in denial about. So that is a gift for you. But then additionally, here's a couple of things that I would recommend to you. Number one is know your worth. I personally don't believe that we can do this apart from God, right? Your worth in God is priceless. You've already been paid for, so there's no price somebody can put on you. You can't be bought, right? But we don't often walk around the world knowing that worth, walking in that royalty, right? We let people tell us who we are. Or if we've been through a lot of trauma, or if we've been in a vulnerable situation and then we let somebody use and manipulate us, our consciousness, our mindset is not thinking with the mind of Christ, right? We've started to really think through some things that are unhealthy. We haven't been doing the discipline work of taking every thought captive that's exalting itself above the truth. So we've got some mind stuff going on. Then emotionally, if we're hanging out in these really heavy and rough emotions, that's tough to sift through, right? Going through like murky water is hard to see and hard to sift through. It requires more energy, more time, more investment to work through. And if you live in that space for years at a time, that's emotionally exhausting and taxing, and it can lead to greater issues, health issues, depression, many things, right? Not good, but so important to recognize, right? So it is so important that you recognize and know your worth, and that you don't let somebody put a price on you, and that you don't let them train you to lower your own price by compromise, by giving into temptation, by continuing to engage in something that is unclear. You can decide if you will tolerate that and if you'll let that be in your life anymore. But you also have to recognize what's at stake. And we don't always do that, right? Sometimes we just give into the familiar because we're afraid of the unknown. But a lot of times we can't have favor because we're so caught up in familiar, right? There's so much grace and mercy that God could be giving us, but we're not receiving it, and we're not taking action. And God can't literally make us walk away, right? So that's something to think about. Number one is know your worth. Who are you? Who does God say that you are? Okay. And then ask yourself, a majority of the time, are you acting like that? And what do you need to do to get back into that space? This could be hiring a coach, hiring a counselor, right? Having some sort of accountability group, going through a healing process, not just to let it go, because a lot of times when we say let it go, we don't actually let it go, right? And then we continue to repeat patterns. We might have a different human, but we'll repeat patterns if we don't actually heal. All right. So number one is know your worth. Number two is get the vision. Write the vision. Habakkuk says this, write the vision and make it plain, right? So get before God and let him give you a download. Let him guide you into the vision that he has for your love life, right? Because that is one of the most, it's probably the second biggest decision that you'll make with your life, who you decide to spend your life with. It can either add to your life or completely destroy your life. And just like God sends connections into our life, so does the enemy. So it is really important to get the vision. What do you see for relationship or for partnership? What does that look like? And this is deeper than just surface, right? Like what is the character quality? What does leadership from this person look like? What is the value that they bring to the table? What does your connection look like together? What are you able to create together now that God has brought you together, right? Get the vision so that it makes it easier for you to recognize, and then you won't be as easily moved or tempted to lower your standard because you know what God showed you. This isn't it, right? And then lastly, stand firm with your resolve, right? A lot of times when folks are not wanting anything serious, they do actively want a situationship. Again, they can smell somebody who's a good target for that. And unless you stand firm with your resolve, unless you hold your boundaries, unless you maintain your standards, unless you have some resolve about what's going to happen if you're tempted to compromise, right? Unless you're rooted and grounded in God, you can be taken astray, right? Bad company corrupts good morals. You can have great morals, but it's still being around the wrong person, right? Can lead you astray. So you've got to be able to stand firm in your resolve. Okay. And then lastly, there is a verse. Okay. This one, so powerful. I was praying about the verse to back up this word. That is something that I think is so important. Applying truth to our life, right? Walking by practical wisdom, living a spirit-led life, not my will, my way, my own understanding, trying to hustle, just following after the world. But what does the word say? So this is the word that was highlighted to me for this word. If you're looking for relationship clarity, here it is. It's Psalm 1, and I'll read it to you. Blessed is the one who does not walk in step with the wicked, or stand in the way that sinners take, or sit in the company of mockers, but whose delight is in the law of the Lord. So my delight isn't in man. My delight isn't in temptation and sin, right? My delight is in the law of the Lord. who meditates on his law day and night. How else do I know? Like, where's my checks and balances? If I'm not in the word, how can I live by it, right? That person who does not walk in step with the wicked or stand in the way that sinners take or sit in the company of mockers, right? They pay attention to what is going in their eye gate, their ear gate, what's coming out of their mouth, right? What's being spoken over their life. They delight in the law of the Lord. They don't just delight in it, they meditate in it day and night. They're washing themselves in the word, because the word is what holds the power of transformation. We are transformed by the renewing of our mind, by renewing our mind in the word, right? So that's why I don't believe that we can just white knuckle breaking an addiction or breaking a cycle or breaking and making our own deliverance happen, right? Sometimes God needs to take us through a transformation process, right? That's why as we're meditating day and night, there can be an acceleration on that, right? But there's a process involved. Okay, that person that's doing this is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever they do prospers. Come on. If you want to prosper, there's conditions to this. Okay? Not so the wicked. They are like chaff. The wind blows away. Therefore, the wicked will not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the assembly of the righteous. For the Lord watches over the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked leads to destruction. So there's another verse that says there's a way that looks right in our own eyes, but in the end leads to destruction. So in our own eyes, by our own understanding, we can come up with things that sound great, that would be awesome, but it's our way, and we want God to bless our way when we know better. But we're living in denial, and we're deciding that confusion is okay. At least this is something. At least if this occupies my time. If I was alone, I don't know what I would do, right? But that's putting God in a box, right? And that's limiting what God can do in your life. And it's silencing, more like suffocating your dream. And you can't just put that dream to rest. It'll still keep you awake at night, right? No matter if you have filler in the world, that dream unfulfilled is like no other pain, right? So my encouragement on today for you is, if you are looking for relationship clarity, trust what you know. You know more than you're giving yourself credit for. Likely, if things aren't changing, that's something. There could have already been something that's revealed. There could be an action that you're to take, and you know to take it. You just keep putting it off. So my encouragement to you would be to pray, would be to repent or to turn from and any area where you've gone astray, to ask Holy Spirit to literally strip away any unrighteousness that's in you, to help you see clearly and be strengthened and really activated in that resolve to move forward into the promise and into the good plans that God does have for you, to not settle for anything less. So that is my encouragement to you. I hope this message blessed you. I think sometimes words like this, man, they can change your life if you actually put them into practice. If you receive it in your heart, if you let it take root, it can bear fruit. So that is my prayer for you, that you will hear this, that you will see this, and that you will take action. If this message did bless you, make sure that you subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and you can also copy the link